You guys have had over 2,000 women on your show.
Yeah.
Have you heard I have never heard a single woman say, I cheated on this guy and I regret it. Not one time. Maybe once, and I can't remember, but I never hear a woman
Very
say,
rarely.
I broke up and I
Yeah,
regret.
really
Because
care.
the thing is, regretting would have to come with some consequences. I'm a man of my word. If I don't keep my word, if I keep showing up late, if I do business deals with you guys and I screw you over, not only will you not work with me, other people will not work with me as well. My value as a human, my ability to be useful to other humans comes through my word. If I have big fake then I don't have to do that. And when I don't show up on time, like, it's just incredible to me, like, the leeway. And by the way, I'm not blaming women for this. Can you imagine how any of us would act if we had women offering us sex
total whores.
hundreds of times a day? Not only
Right there.
women offering us sex,
getting close.
Right there.
they're offering us money just to show our bodies.
Yeah, sure.
Could you imagine, like, how you'd be intolerable? I'm not even blaming women for this.
You can't blame women
You'd
for
be
it.
intolerable. You wouldn't even know. There's no way evolutionarily for your brain to, like, comprehend that. So when women were getting all this attention, they still have the same evolutionary psychology hardwire that they had 200,000 years ago. It's just not, that firmware is not programmed for this stimulus, for this input. And so when they do it, they just become intolerable, which is the same thing.
Look at Britney Spears right now.
Sure.
I made a post about this. She's going crazy. For anyone that, for the Gen Zers, we're all old enough to know. Obviously,
We're
pop
already
star.
there.
She's going to go down the Hall of Fame, with the MJs and the Chers and everything else like that as a pop singer, right? Undebatable that she's probably one of the top pop stars in the 90s, right? Whatever. She got famous young, though, right? Mm-hmm. I would argue that the craziness that Britney Spears is experiencing right now came from her getting too much attention and too much fame at a young age, and she didn't know how to handle it.
Oh, yeah. Too much,
I promise
too young,
you,
too
in the
fast.
next 20 years, you're going to see the same thing with a bunch of these regular-ass girls thanks to f***ing Instagram.
Well,
You got regular
there,
girls
yeah.
with 100,000 followers, no skill set, used to getting a bunch of attention and likes from men.
Million dudes simping over.
Could you imagine what it's going to be like when she's 40 and she no longer gets that same level of attention? It's going to be Britney Spears, but on a crazy and exponentially more level.
And then we want
Probably
them to commit to one man
Yeah.
that is mediocre at best, and then say, oh, you know what? Lower your standards. She won't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
because
all is
these girls.
impossible.
Well, so have these girls. Sometimes they can sleep with a guy above their skills. They think they can date him. So you get these girls that
Yes.
can sleep
Yeah.
with a guy.
Yeah.
Well, you get man if we
You
sleep
fuck
with a
a
girl, we
10,
can
so
date
you
him.
think you can get a 9 to commit.
No, exactly, but generally we can fuck girl. That girl will
love
date
it.
us in most cases.
Yeah.
But these women sometimes will sleep below our levels, or if we're sleeping around, and these girls think they can date men that are way out of their league, and they're chasing these guys that they can't date.
I'm flooded.
Absolutely. Simply
Mike,
put,
I love it, and I'm flooded right now.
Yeah, like this is what I predict. Like when I see Britney Spears acting crazy, I'm like, holy shit, this is going to happen in 20 years to the 19-year-old that's
damn.
all over OnlyFans, to the 21-year-old that's getting 100,000 likes on a photo. And what's even worse, these girls have no skills. At least Britney could make some music.
got money,
She
yeah.
got some hits.
Yeah.
She has some level of talent. These bitches have nothing. So when they lose their looks, how are they going to maintain their relevancy? How are they going to maintain their sanity?
How do you
We're not a bunch of crazy.
drugs,
Xanax.
antidepressants, all that's going to happen.
SSRIs are like at record levels for women.
let me add on. This is a very important fundamental thing that Mike hit on, and you did as well, and that is because of technology, because of economic production. Back in the day, women did need men to survive, and that's what brought us together on a genetic bioevolutionary thing. Then you had the Industrial Revolution, Agricultural Revolution, even technology. You guys were on that mile. You guys were way ahead of that.
Ahead of our time, bro.
Yeah, way
our
ahead
time.
of your time.
Yep.
Yeah. And anyway, so because, and I've said it before, women really don't need men anymore, not to survive. You throw in the welfare state and everything like that. And
Not enough guys know that. That
Right,
women
not
don't need you anymore.
Right,
Like,
they
I think
don't.
guys
They literally
don't know
say that on
They
your
say
show constantly. Hell, I had to tell freaking Dr. Phil that exact same day.
They really don't. Sorry.
But anyway, they do not need men. And what younger men have to realize, I don't care how long marriage has been a tradition, I don't care what your religion is saying, women are absolutely different now. And that was one of the main things for me to measure in the book of Numbers was what percentage of women are marriage material. It's 2.7%. You can question my methodologies. That's a separate
I'll sign off on that.
Sounds like a good estimate.
Yeah, I'll sign off on that.
Do you want to
Yes.
can you tell them real quick how you can?
Well, there are three ways.
Yeah,
okay, but
real quick, it's actually amazing how you did it.
There are three ways, but the one I think you're referring to is the deal breaker method, where I took
multiple tattoos,
mental
illness,
bad finances,
obese.
another man, kids, obese, and I forget the other 3 or before.
All very fair deal breakers, by the way.
Those are low standards.
I have some,
low standards.
So I have some really fun friends who have multiple tattoos, and they all have mental illness.
Right.
So real quick, can you watch
five or more.
that? For the tradcons that are watching this right now, that criticize us and hate us or whatever, let's look at the numbers.
Me and Jake over here like, I don't know.
He said 5 or more. Did you say? You said 4 or more tattoos.
But anyway,
For women, though. That girl with face tattoos, but date them.
And that's a good point to make. Is for anyone who is religious or you're very traditional, I'm like, okay, for a second, set aside your traditionalism or your religion, view it more as an actuary or a statistician would. And I had an actuary audit my figures. Look at it like an insurance risk pool. Please go get that book, read the number. You know, you can just look at the numbers. You don't have to read anything. But my point is what I'm trying to convey to men. Well, maybe Rollo was because he's old. But do you guys remember when high school students could bring guns to school because there's either a marksmanship club or they were going to go hunting?
I missed out on that.
In the country in Texas, we had
state,
you could shoot downstairs. Yeah.
Okay, but anyway, so that young people are not responsible enough for that.
Yeah.
They are simply not. Wow. And women are no longer responsible enough for marriage. It just generally speaking, because the environment has changed.
So I have a theory.
So women need marriage classes and men need like gun classes.
That'd be a good idea.
So we interviewed, let's say, I want to say altogether, maybe like over 5,000 girls.
Almost 3,000.
All of us.
Everybody here. Oh, yeah.
Everybody, right?
Yeah.
So
easily,
here's my theory, especially with today's, I want to say women's behavior today. So ultimately, women do what they do regardless. You know, this is a new modern day society. They do what they think is right in their head. But my thing is for a man, I've found that a woman will only do what you tell her to do if she respects you.
Yes.
So, for example, the bottom
100%.
line here is like, if you want to test a woman for a good wife or good tenant to be with you, for example, long term, I would say she's going to do behaviors by herself to get to you. But unless she listens to what you say, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. So that to me is a golden rule there as well. I don't know if you guys agree.
Yeah, 100%.
I gotta add one in.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of women, especially gentlemen such as you all, who are in position. Oh, they're gonna perform.
Yes,
of course,
It's like that job interview. You're like, do you know how to program in Python? They're like, absolutely. They're going to do what they can to get in position. But I learned the greatest test in addition to that. That's a necessary one.
Yeah.
Observe how they react when they're disappointed.
When you tell them no.
Disappoint them.
When you say no.
Yeah, and then see how forgiving they are. And that lets you know the stickiness of the woman. Is she a flighty woman?
Yeah. You can also add to that.
I'd say the
Watch how she behaves around people that can do absolutely nothing for her. See how
Tell me more about that one, Rollo.
Yeah,
Okay.
Who can do
Expand, sir.
absolutely nothing for her. I mean, the reason I came to that conclusion was is that there's a lot of women who will say, well, I always make sure and see if the guy will tip or he'll be like rude to the waiter or he'll be rude to the store clerk or some shit like that, and trying to impress me by being an asshole with them rather than like, understanding and like being personable to all the rest. I thought, how does that apply to women?
Okay.
And like we have this one example where we talk about like, did you go to CVS before you came into the show today? Yeah. Did you mention? Do you remember the short Filipino guy that was stocking the shelves before?
That? Yeah.
And no, you didn't, because he's invisible to you. That's what I'm saying. Like, how do women relate with people who can do absolutely nothing for them?
You want to hear something interesting? I literally came to this yesterday, this realization, and it just hit me. Like, I've noticed this trend, but now I'm like solid in it. We do this thing. We tell the girl, do you think it's easy to attract a woman as a man? And they say yes. And that's okay. I want you to be the guy, and I want you to pick up make Fresh or me or whatever.
Freshina.
Right? Yeah, whatever. And I'll replace the girl. And I'll give them honest, genuine, normal female objections. Can I get your number? I have a boyfriend. Not playing hard to get, maybe not being as talkative, where you have to generate the conversation, etc. It's amazing how the women almost always default. Well, and they'll be like, she ain't interested. Immediately start offering money. Immediately start being a trick. Immediately start being etc. And then I'm like, well, what are you doing? You're a regular guy. What do you mean I'm a regular guy? What? No, aren't I 6'5" and a millionaire? No, you're a fucking regular guy. Pull her up at the supermarket, and they have no concept because to them, regular guys don't exist.
Invisible.
They don't exist. And I think, because there's a couple of dark truths that men just need to fucking accept, right? And even the tradcons need to accept this shit. Most women don't need you anymore. They're more educated now than ever before, and they've ever been, and they make more money than they ever made. Then on top of that, religion, right? Most girls aren't religious anymore. All you chicks are fucking hoes. And then on top of that, they don't want normal guys, because if they don't need you to provide for them, well, what's left?
the guy they want.
Bam.
Right.
Not the guy they need.
They'd rather be a side. They'd rather be a side chick for the guy they
Exactly.
like than date some guy they don't.
That
Well,
part.
you went even through the numbers when
Jason
we went
Momoa, that's
editing
the-
your book.
Alan Richardson.
because
One
we went
literally
through
said that to me.
Yeah.
Was that?
Jason Momoa. I don't even know who these people are. And she was like, yeah.
They want Jack Reacher. That's what they want.
So hey, there's one thing. There's one thing I found was fascinating. So Marilyn Monroe had a mental disorder. It was
Clearly.
diagnosed, but Marilyn
Clearly.
Monroe's mother had the same mental disorder, and her grandmother had the same mental disorder. And the reason why you ask yourself, like, what's the deal there? Well, they were attractive enough to where these men looked past that. So there's no selection pressure for a woman. So consider a woman being autistic and a man being autistic. A woman being autistic, if she's still really attractive, will have children and she will have men pursue her. So there's no selection pressure against her passing on her genetics. A man with the same issue, autism, his ability to procure resources and to be charismatic around a woman is greatly lessened, and therefore his ability to spread his genetics is much less. So what we're seeing, we used to have selection pressure for bigger, stronger men. They would have more children because they would be able to be more productive and they would have bigger, stronger children. And since 98% of the U.S. population was agricultural back in the 18th century, there was big, strong men who had more kids. So testosterone levels were higher. We've done measurements where testosterone levels have dropped since the 1950s. So now what we see is as these men who are more technologically savvy and do jobs that don't require a lot of testosterone, the selection pressure is not, there's no selection pressure against them. So now we have more babies that have lower testosterone. That's one of the reasons why men in general have lower testosterone. But we still have to keep our word. We still have to be productive. We still have to be useful. We still have to be honest. There's still things we have to do as men in order for us to be productive so that we can procreate. For the most part, obviously, there's some deadbeat dudes out there. For women, on the other hand, in their situation, they don't. What happens is whatever they come with, whether it be schizophrenia or borderline personality disorder or whatever,
Bipolar.
my point is, in every population, those things are generally not desired and they're selected against. But if you're hot enough, they aren't.
Fantastic
That's my point. They aren't. And so those things will continually get pushed on. This is, again, the whole thing I'm just saying can put down in one sentence: don't stick your dick in crazy, because that's what sticking your
listen
crazy.
to that, though.
Yeah, but when you stick your dick in crazy, you
Not
are
raw.
you are continuing.
not raw.
You're telling me can't be penalized for being retarded?
Yeah, that's the thing.
This is up.
Hey,
I mean,
let me
a good example, Amber Heard.
let me
I don't want to go into too many details, but long story short, it's 3 a.m. I'm in my storefront, right? Woman knocks on the door. I open the door. She's claiming she wants to go upstairs, right? So I was like, okay, I'll let you in the building. So I leave out of my storefront. I go let her upstairs, and then she still needs me to scan her into the elevator. So we get in the elevator. She has a drink. She's supposed to go meet her friend. She's texting, and then she says, oh, they're saying like the party's over, so I guess I'm too late. Okay, cool. So then we go back out. You guys know it's been a bit cold, right? So she's supposedly waiting for someone to come pick her up, her boyfriend. So then she says, hey, it's a bit cold. Do you mind if I sit inside with you while I wait for him? I'm not going to tell you guys how that story ended, but what I can tell you is that during the proceedings that occurred, I could see her texting him, "Oh, baby, I love you, and I'm sorry we had this fight, and I shouldn't have went out without you." And you know what? I truly believe she meant every word of it.
She did.
Despite
Let me ask you-
everything she
hold on.
did that night, she meant every word.